You'd be surprised how far you can make that $20,000 or $30,000 go when you're having an intimate event. Whether you have an event that's 200 people and you get to talk to all 200, you leave an impression on them, you have some sort of emotional attachment to your brand, that's huge versus engaging with 40,000 people where there's so much to look at.
Hey, welcome to On Branding Podcast. Today my guest is Brandie Weaver. Brandie is passionate about helping growing brands understand how to reach their true potential through live events. Hello, Brandie. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with talking about some of the key benefits when it comes to organizing live events for businesses and brands.
When a brand decides to go into live event marketing, you open yourself up to a different demographic than you have been targeting. You're able to niche down and decide what specific kind of attendees you want to engage with. With the live events, you open the door for engagement with potential customers or clients, which is huge these days. Everybody is looking to connect, and events really give you the ability to do that. If you're selling an actual physical product, to be able to put the product in potential buyers' hands makes a huge difference.
So basically, you can connect on a deeper level because we are more engaged, right? All the senses are engaged. We are right there, present. As you mentioned, you can show off your product. And that way you can also reach broader audience, right? So a lot of businesses think about whether they should start sponsoring events or organize their own event. Can we talk about some pros and cons for both and which one is better, especially for smaller brands and startups?
Yeah, right there. That's the key word. The startup and the growing brands. A lot of times they can get talked into sponsoring an event for a pretty significant amount, 20,000, 30,000. And that when you're growing and you're just getting started and haven't maybe exactly figured out who your target customer is, that's a lot of money to spend sponsoring someone else's events. I would say the biggest pro of hosting your own event is that you can control the scenario. You get to decide who is going to attend your event. Is your event going to be free? Or are you going to do an invite only and invite potential customers or just people in your industry? For a fact, the people you've targeted are people you're ready to engage with. Whereas when you're sponsoring another event, a lot of times it might not be the correct audience you're trying to engage with. So I think that there is a huge pro there. When you're producing a small, intimate event and you look at spending that same $20,000 or $30,000, it gives you room to barter a little bit with your services or products. And you'd be surprised how far you can make that $20,000 or $30,000 go when you're having an intimate event. Whether you have an event that's 200 people and you get to talk to all 200, you leave an impression on them, you have some sort of emotional attachment to your brand, that's huge versus engaging with 40,000 people where there's so much to look at. They're talking to you, but 5 seconds later, they're getting pulled into something else and they quickly lose interest in you and maybe not and forget to follow you. Whereas those small, intimate events, the target is obviously to find a way, like after the event, how are you going to engage with that audience? Are you going to emails, their phone numbers? Are they going to follow you on social? So you can continue to nurture that relationship and turn them into customers.
That's well said. And actually, I wanted to talk more about the strategy behind organizing an event like this. So you mentioned already you have to have some kind of strategy, grab their emails, how you're going to follow up, what happens during the event. Can we walk our audience through some of these steps? How do you usually approach organizing an event? Obviously, every business is different, but talking from your own past experience, what would be the steps to organize the event?
Yeah. Well, with Brandie Weaver Productions, we ask the client what their overall goal is, and we work on those KPIs, those key performance indicators in the beginning. We engineer it backwards. That way we know exactly what the goal is, and then we can decide how exactly, if it's data, if it's followers, if it's to get a can in a hand or to get apparel on a body, whatever that goal is, we start with that and then we create a roadmap on how we're going to do that with the event. And then we engineer all the way back to when the guests get with their first contact, whether that's you've sent them an email telling them about your event, you've made a reel or just a social media post, we create a funnel on nurturing that relationship and how we're going to get them through the doors of the event and be able to accomplish your goals. We work through there. And of course, we add the creative and the fun stuff too, but we really make sure we have some strong bones of our strategy that start with your goals.
So just to sum up for our audience, you start with the KPIs, right? You start with the objective and then you move backwards. So it's very custom and it's very different for each client depending on their products or services. How much do you think it costs to organize an event? Can you give us some examples? Let's say there is a small startup, how much it costs to organize an event, let's say for 200 people or versus more people versus sponsoring an event?
It really just depends on the location, what type of event it is. You can keep those costs. Again, you can use your brand to its advantage and barter. We've definitely bartered space, maybe an event venue that is looking to get their name out there. I've worked with some pretty lean budgets to accomplish the client's goals. It does make it challenging when it's overly lean. But I know that as a growing brand, you have to start somewhere. I would say that to do any sort of event, you are going to need closer to $5,000 to $10,000 to host it and accomplish your goals and do a few memorable things during that event. But again, a lot of event sponsorships, they're way over that amount, depending on what type of event. So we create strategies for the brands and weigh out those things. We decide if we are going to sponsor an event, we're going to niche down to one or two industries, and then we're going to look at the cost of those sponsorships. We also look at if we created an event on our own, what does that look like? We do research in the area, and because some areas of the United States, it's just way more expensive to host an event. So then it might be beneficial to go ahead and sponsor. And then we talk about how, if you are going to sponsor, how you can make that small sponsorship look like you almost are running the event. There are small things you can do to set yourself apart. And when we're writing event strategies, we do weigh out all of those things.
Right. And I really liked that tip with barter, right? You have perhaps some other tips for brands or startups who want to organize their first event, how to maximize the return on investment. So you mentioned, for example, you have to spend 5 to 10,000. How to maximize that spend to get the most out of that event?
Definitely want to barter your products and services, really lay out what kind of assets you have. Maybe you spend a lot of money in videography, and how could a service that you already pay for benefit a venue or benefit a caterer? So maybe the caterer you're looking at, you've got strong menus online, but they don't really have a ton of photography, and you have an in-house photography team. You could probably barter the photography services to get the catering bill down some. So I think bartering is huge. Using people in your community to help spread the word and their resources. If you do work with any influencers and you already have that relationship, how can you leverage their network and what they have going? There's all kinds of different just little things that make a big difference when it comes to your event budget.
Right, but these are great tips. Think about people you know and how you can leverage those connections. Perhaps you can barter your services, as you mentioned, perhaps some influencers in the space that can help you promote that event. So these are all great tips. For those who want to learn more, I invite you to check out Brandie's website. And for those who have more questions or want to work with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Really through brandieweaver.com, all my contact information there, or Instagram, Brandie Weaver Partnerships. You can DM DM me there.
Thank you so much.